look at how many batteries the soldier needs to take on a mission and how much savings I'm getting from this energy harvesting device. The goal is to reduce the battery that you're taking because you have the ability to generate power on the go.
I mean, just to my mind, I'm listening to a number of these things and I'm thinking to myself, if I'm Under Armour, or if I'm Nike, I mean, how many of you would like to have right now a shoe, an exercise shoe, that when you did your exercise and recharge your iPhone? Or you put your hands down if you don't care about it, I mean, right? Why would you not want that? So
I'm at 38 right now.
You're 38, exactly. Well, I'll start doing this, and we can count like clever Franz the horse. You know? But if any of you know what I'm talking about, come and see me later. Anyway, private sector. Why aren't, or maybe they are, but it sounds like this just cries out for the private sector. This cries out for Nike and so forth.
We've reached out. Energy harvesting is a big thing that we've looked at, because for us, unattended sensors that sit out, in the middle of a field, a desert, wherever, but you don't get to go back and revisit it and plug it in. So, we've looked at solar, wind, other novel ways, but just haven't found the return on it. And sometimes it can't look like a box, and it needs to look like a rock. That complicates. You can't pop out a solar panel or a windmill out of it and power it up, because it becomes pretty obvious you're there. Something we've looked at too is energy harvesting off of existing power lines. So if you flew something into a power line that latched onto it and then maybe dropped down a power station or a power pad that remote vehicles could come and charge and then go off and do their thing, that sounded interesting, but it turns out it's really, really hard to hit a power line and stay there.
Obviously, they never had sneakers.
Yeah,
I was
you get multiple times at that.
Oh, yeah, it was always easy. It was always my sneakers. And they were
flying at 40 miles an hour and trying to latch onto it
in the wind.
A little bit more problem.
Going back to the industry focus of energy harvesting, a lot of the industry is focusing on microsensors. So maybe having like a step counter in your shoe that is able to generate its own power. And that, one of the things that we differ is that that requires microwatts, milliwatts. It's a very low power situation where we want the soldier to be able to generate watts.
Right.
So in another order of magnitude. And that is where it's challenging. That is where we need help from the industry as well to be able to kind of look at these gaps and to be able to propose ideas in order to meet them.
What about, go ahead.
Just to add on to the last thing that Jose mentioned is that, the microwatts, we need tens of watts, so there's a couple of orders of magnitude above that. And to something that'll offset perhaps than just carrying another battery. There's a cost to all these solutions as well, and the commercial industry drives a lot of the technology improvements and stuff that we're seeing today that DoD is not driving it. So if commercial industry is not doing it, it's going to be hard for us to push it to get to a price point where we can actually go buy it. In mind of a PM shop, right? So at that point, if this technology is great, I mean, I personally like these technologies, but looking at it from a cost schedule performance kind of standpoint, if I can just get another rechargeable, conformable, 150 watt hour lithium battery, instead of investing in energy solutions, that's the trade-off that we have to make as well, as we look at these solutions and look at the commercial sector as well.
So as you look at the commercial sector, Brian, I'll start with you, because I know this is something that you're involved in. How do you, with the Marine Corps Energy Office, how do you get involved with small entrepreneurs? Are there programs that you have in place specifically to engage with non-traditional innovators?
Actually, back to to go back to the last question, camping.
Camping.
You go to REI, can you buy a solar charger for your phone?
Yeah.
So is that a market that might provide some technology for us? Hopefully. So how do we get involved in small industry, small business that is? Once a year, our office does something that's called Expeditionary Energy Concepts, which is basically kind of a sort of a trade show type thing that we do at a Marine base. And it's done in the spring, summer. We did it was the first week in May this year was done. So in the fall, what we'll do is we'll look at what the problems are, what sort of problems we think the Marine Corps has that might have technological solutions. We'll put a thing out, an RFI out, say here are the 4 items of interest. Microgrid storage was one, energy harvesting, small unit water purification, and then the last one was an interesting one, sort of a mix of things, because the Marine Corps is looking at having a surgical suite that fits in a B-22 aircraft. Great idea, doesn't fit, too heavy. So what ways can we reduce? And a lot of that is heating, ventilation for a mobile operating room. Lights, you need a lot of light to do surgery, so how do you reduce the power for lights? So that was what the focus is of this year. So like I said, in the fall, the call goes out to industry. Here are our 4 areas of interest. Come and show us what you got. And then it goes through a review. We look at, okay, who can meet the requirements that we have, and then they come and do the demonstration in the spring. We've got our engineering team from Naval Surface Warfare Center, Car Rock, that put their engineers out there. They do all the measurements. They measure how many watts is that solar panel putting out, how much power is the generator giving. So we do all the measurements to see whether it met our requirements, and then see if that, then we can then lead that into a actual program of record in the future.
So that's all outreach around, I've got a completed product. Will you also look at prototypes? Will you guys fund R&D?
We have very little, I mean, there's an Office of Naval Research that's got a $1.8 billion budget.
Mm-hmm.
We work them hard and tell them what we think is important, and we hope that they spend money wisely.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a small business innovative research program there, SBIR. You guys probably know about that. So and we go to them with the requirements for our technology needs. And
so if I have a product and I answer your call, how does the process, what does the process look like if I'm a small business? How much work do I have to do in order to get you guys to look at my product?
5 to 10 pages.
So it's not, it's a 5 to 10 page response. I'm giving it to you, but you don't give it to my competitors, right?
No, of course not. Right.
I just want to make the point because you will be dismayed how many people think that if they give something to the government, they lose their IP. So I always make sure to make that point that you guys aren't in the business of taking IP, you're actually in the business of protecting the entrepreneur's IP. So it's a white paper.
Yeah, but when we do the demonstration at the base, everybody who's there can see it. So it's actually was very interesting. I've only been in the job since October, so that was my first round through this E2C demo. It was actually very interesting to see the different contractors talking to each other and seeing how your light can work on his battery, and then we can all put that together in the surgical suite. That was sort of interesting to see how they kind of talk to each other. And the other benefit is they come with their product, and the Marine looks at it and says, "There's no way I'd carry that."
Right.
And there's a lot of good feedback of young Marines telling these scientists, "Nah, that's not going to work. I would never use that." Or the other way around, the guys getting all excited about running around the field with the backpack. That was fun to watch.
So Vaughn, you're part of ARL, the Open Campus. How do you guys interact or work with non-church performers to try to help them grease the skids into this ecosystem?
We've done as much as we can do. We have the Open Campus, and it goes together with something we started called the Center for Research in Extreme Batteries. And the idea was it came as a partnership between ARL and the University of Maryland, but the idea was to speed up and protect IP to sort of foster its growth. Because one of the things that we do at Army Research Labs, we can take risks in research that companies may not. So we do a lot of partnering with companies. We have many CRADAs, collaborative research agreements with companies to develop battery materials with large manufacturers, DuPont, Dow Corning, Toyota, GM. We work with companies because we can take risks that they can't. So the Open Campus allows for more free exchange of students and guest researchers. And then the Center for Research in Extreme Batteries allows for more transfer of IP. And so now we started off, it was the University of Maryland, the Army Research Lab, and NIST. And now it's expanded to most of the institutions, NIH, NASA, Goddard, NASA JPL, universities up and down the East Coast, and then all over the country. So it was a lot more popular than we thought because people want to help to develop IP. And so we have made it easier to generate IP for companies to protect it. Like there's a lot of like companies get to keep the right of first refusal in the creative process, so there's a lot of, I mean, that's what we're sort of contractually obligated to do anyways. But yeah, so we need IP because we can generate, but it's harder for us to spin off companies. So, but we can take risks that companies won't. And it's true of a lot of technologies in the government. We can really do the science. It's kind of like the way NASA interacts with, say, SpaceX. They do the great research. We have all the cosmology, but they build the rockets. And it's the same with us. We have great chemistry that we're trying to get out there. We won't necessarily spin off companies, but a lot of other companies are interested in taking our IP and making something out of it. Yeah. So yeah, Open Campus is a huge tool. It makes it way easier to work with the Army.
It does. And just last week, I think I saw that the Open Campus has set up an accelerator program to try to get things out of the lab and start companies. Hey, Britt, Detroit, you guys will write checks for R&D sometime. At least that's the rumor.
Yeah, we do. We write checks for R&D, but sometimes it's hard to reach out outside our normal DoD crowd or normal DoD performers. We do work with Cresce some, and some of our performers who have subs come out and find innovative technologies that we can take advantage of. But then again, that's part of why we had Jonathan and Michael over today to kind of help us find new ways to do that. So as R&D developer type, we look for those opportunities, but sometimes it's hard.
We need to make it easier.
Yeah, but and we strive to do that. And I'm sure the guys up here who deal with it, they look for it too. Of course, when you have to beg O&R for money, that makes it a challenge too.
Well, at least they have $1 billion or $2 billion. It could be worse if you were begging and they had $10. I mean, then it would be really upsetting.
Yeah, but it's mostly the Navy, and fighting with the Navy's tough. An old sailor, I can say that.
Glad you added that. I thought it was going to be a food fight in a minute. You guys have any questions that you wanted to ask? Because I've got it. Yes, sir.
In terms of the kinetic motion, the e-brace technology, could you characterize a little further the current state of that technology in terms of how bulky are those units, and do they restrict movement at all, which I would imagine would be a concern for folks in the field? Where is it at the moment?
So I'll take a first stab at that. We're looking at that in partnership with our lab partners at the Navy Research Labs in Massachusetts. So the knee harvester is worn on both legs. The initial prototypes were bulky. We brought them to XFOB, which I think was a precursor of the event you were talking about before. We had them there, and then we got some good feedback on that, saying less bulky, it's kind of tight on my thighs and everything. Can we improve it? And then the latest versions coming out that we're hearing about and seeing some results on are much lighter, sleeker, slimmer, and everything. And so what we're doing at PEO Soldier, sometime in fiscal year, third quarter of 17, so about a year from now, we're going to be taking all these technologies to kind of an event, to kind of not run off against each other, because maybe the solution is a suite of these as well. So just evaluating them in an operational context with soldiers to see how they work.
Just I think about 25 soldiers, 25 Marines can be outfitted with these. And then on the Marine Corps side, you guys know that the Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works. So the Marine Corps has something they call Grunt Works. So any item that gets added to a Marine has to get the check of approval of Grunt Works. So Grunt Works are the ones that look at that and go, okay, that's going to slow my Marine down. You're not putting that on. So that's one of our, I guess you could call that quality control. So as we develop these sorts of devices, we now work with the ergonomics folks from the Marine Corps, which is the Grunt Works folks, that will then look at it and say, okay, if this was longer, if this was this, if this was that, and we work with them to make sure that that balance, that Jose was mentioning, is right, that the amount of energy that you're generating is more than the amount of energy you would have had to carry. That's good, let's go with that.
One more comment on the small business stuff before I forget about it. In addition to the other methods at PEO Soldier, I think that the Marine Corps as well, it's the Marine or the Soldier Enhancement Program. Again, these are products that companies, anybody can propose. We'd like to see Marines and soldiers finding the stuff and propose them to us, but if there's a company out there that has something that's interesting, that company can go to the website and submit a proposal saying, hey, look at my technology, and then it goes through the proper subject matter experts for that field of expertise, and then they'll evaluate it as well.
And again, I'm not giving anything up. You keep it confidential, you don't share with anybody.
Yeah, for example, with battery technology, we rely on our partners at CERDEC to say, hey, this company has the most amazing new battery. They come around every 2 weeks, I think. So then we'll get some samples, if they provide us samples, we'll get them to CERDEC, and then they quarantine it properly, and they deliver the results, and the results only stay within the CERDEC, and also go back to the company that provided the battery, and that's it.
Okay, I saw some hands. Yes, sir.
I was curious in terms of the materials used in the harvesting. Are you guys using like piezoelectrics, like impregnated in a fabric or something, or liquid? Or are you guys using a mechanical like device that creates current?
So we're mostly looking at electromagnetic generators right now, so mechanical motion. Piezo right now it needs to mature a little more in order to get to the energy density that it would be viable on the soldiers. It's a cool technology, it's effortless, but it needs to mature a little bit in regards to energy density. Yeah.
And I have one follow-up question. In terms of like batteries with FPGA liquid capacitance, like the microactive that they use to cool a lot of circuits that DARPA has run and other liquid computers and batteries, you often use deionized water. Is that, sorry, the question is that technology you think eventually going to make its way into military batteries, or is it too dangerous, or is it too untried, and how long does it take for new technology to get used? Sorry.
Vaughn, you want to tackle that one?
That was so inside baseball.
It's ARL. We're applied research or basic research. I'll leave it up to it.
And I'm a freaking caveman, so I don't know.
So your question was about water as an electrolyte for batteries, is that correct?
Yeah, and some of the like silicon etchings. Yes, yeah.
Okay, it depends. Like,
So we should stop there.
okay.
That's
No,
what
we're getting there. No, so for example, we have new patents out. We developed an aqueous, so we do use the ionized water, but then we super concentrate it with a lithium salt. So it's possible to make a lithium battery out of water. But the idea is water's limited electrochemical window makes it difficult to consider as a high energy battery, even though it's something that won't burn. Is that answering your question? I saw an eye roll there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure, your question is complicated. Tell me more.
They have computers that use batteries, because 80% of space computers use to distribute heat, et cetera.
Sure.
And they have microetching, DARPA funded research for microetching in silicon cells to use this to cool them. So you can get much higher performance out of some things using water for cooling, and also water as part of a capacitor to power it instead of using batteries.
Ah, okay, I understand. Yeah, that's something we would like. And in fact, there's some push now to have battery capacitor hybrid cells. So that's something we're working on. We just started a program called BATCAP to address exactly this. Although my understanding is they're going to be using an organic electrolyte rather than water. Just again, because of the limitations of the voltage you can get out of even a water capacitor will be limited. You'll ultimately, because you can get maybe a lot of current, like especially as a flow capacitor, but the voltage is still crammed into just 1.5 or less, and that'll ultimately limit wattage.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You guys remember the sound the two modems made when they connected? This is great. I mean, this is why we're all here, and I hope you guys continue the conversation. Dave, you went last question.
Odd question for a high-tech group, but is there much room for improvement in hand crank generators? They can put out lots of watts, and they can work day and night, and are they being worked on?
We're looking at some, through the Soldier Enhancement Program actually, there's a commercial company out there who's developed some of these hand crank generators. Now, some of them have been around for 15, 20 years. We found one in the museum up at Fort Monmouth, a hand crank thing. It was all green, it had an NSN number and everything. Just a basic red and black prong on there. But we're looking at them because there's been advancements and everything. See how they're going, to see how much power they can produce. Everything right now in terms of requirements, our requirement is to produce while on the move. Some people would argue you can hand crank while on the move, but then your hand is on your weapon and all these other issues. So, operational aspects aside, so we're looking at it. There's some commercial companies out there looking at it. So, through again the Soldier Enhancement Program, we were made aware of it, and then we're doing some evals probably early next year on that.
Thank you.
We just get the legal industry to all work on treadmills. One in the back. You win last question of the day, or for this panel, I would say.
So I'm going to push back just a little bit. What's going on to help expedite the prototyping time, or to get these solutions to the soldiers? Talking about third quarter 2017 or sometime next spring. Holy cow. Like, that is a lifetime for some companies that are in this industry. So in terms of getting them out there for prototyping and things like that, or trials, what's being done to do that?
So, I made the third quarter 17 comments, I'll just start with that. So, the reason that is some of the technology is already ready. They were developed at different phases. So the last phase of the development now, we're finalizing the development for the knee harvesters, for example. We're also looking at a wearable solar panel as well, which we didn't mention, for a power generation solution. And the backpacks are kind of pretty much maturely developed right now, so finishing touches. The last contract, the last effort in place are the knees, for example. So it's just the way that the developments were phased in this situation is how we're tackling it. To try and accelerate it in general, some of the development phases, it's got to be how quickly can the government respond. One of the ways is this Rapid Innovation Fund, the RIF program. We put some things out there to try and quickly get money. It's, I think it's a DoD level, a seed level funded type of program. That's one way to try and do it. If there's other ways that companies can reach the government through the RDECs or directly to the PM, there is some RDECOM that we have, and if there's a way we can try and accelerate to meet some type of requirement, yeah, we can try and do that.
So I was either going to the RIF funding, so you already jumped on that.
Yeah, well,
Listen, I think the reality is that acquisition is hard. It takes a long time to get in a program of record, right? And we're all together today knowing that's a problem. But where you are starting to see significant changes is in the science, technology, and the R&D side of things. So in addition to these programs here, make no mistake, we've been part of, as you know, if you're part of community, some innovative things that DARPA's done, and there is a robotics and elsewhere to move more rapidly. Actually, our next panel is going to talk about a couple of immediate opportunities to get funding from the government in solar-related technologies. So I suppose the best thing to say to you is that, if you can't find anybody else to talk to Michael or Jeff or me. There's some other programs floating around here and other program managers that we know. This is a problem that people understand they need to address. With that, we're going to thank our first panel. And we'll take about 5 minutes to change around, then we'll do our second panel of the evening. So hang out.